It is time now to bring in our State House Insiders, our Republican strategist Dave Wilson, our Democratic strategist Antoine Seawright. Guys, two big losses in the world of politics this past week or in the last few days. Kay Patterson, a former representative here in Richland County, and former 5th District Congressman John Spratt, both dying in the last few days. Just a big blow for South Carolina at the moment. These guys did a lot for the state.
They really did, JR. I mean, you take a look at the history that has just passed. You have some very key members of the legislative bodies of both the South Carolina House and or the State House and in Congress. And when you look at that, those are men who have left a lot of legacies. Whether you're a Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter. These are people who have made a significant difference in South Carolina politics and the lives of South Carolinians.
I was fortunate enough to have worked with or around both of them. And so their legacy touches a little closer to home for both of them than it may for others who may have just witnessed their work or their body of work from afar. The last time we balanced a budget in this country, it was because John Spratt was the chairman of the budget committee in the 90s under a Bill Clinton presidency. The reason why reflective African American representation at our state house has become a must, not a plus, is because of the late legendary Kay Patterson. Their legacies will live on. Legends do not die. Legends live forever through their body of work. And I'm thankful that they both had the opportunity to serve not just the people that elected them, but serve the people of South Carolina.
Let's look back at 2024 if we can now, guys, for just a moment. Antoine, we'll begin with you on this one. What was the biggest political story of the year?
Well, I think two of the biggest stories will be Joe Biden leaving the presidential race, yielding to the first African-American woman to lead any party's nomination, and Kamala Harris being our party's nominee. Although she did not get across the finish line, I think her run, her candidacy was historic. I think the other piece of that is now we have a shadow president in Elon Musk, a billionaire running the government. I don't think anyone expected a Trump presidency that has been coupled or collided with Elon Musk essentially running the federal government, as we've seen these last several days play out. And so I think those are the two bigger stories of 2024.
The 2024 election, JR, was really a real stepping stone for the country deciding, hey, listen, what we have seen for the last 4 years is not the direction that we wanted to go with Kamala Harris. And so the return of a president, a former president, back to the White House has only happened once in history. It was Grover Cleveland. And when you take a look at Donald Trump now returning, there are a lot of questions as to whether or not he is going to continue the type of work that he had been doing, or is this a whole new Donald Trump? And what we're seeing, to Antoine's point, we're seeing a lot of places where he's going back to the private sector and saying, you've been successful here, Elon Musk. You've been successful here, Vivek Ramaswamy. Take a look at what is going on in a bloated government that is spending a lot of money, that is overspending beyond our credit card limit, and ask yourselves the question, what can we do to most efficiently run government while at the same time be able to provide for services that the country needs to be able to provide through the federal budget?
Dave, I think that's nice and good, but you're talking about billionaires who benefit from the government saying we need to cut from the government. I think that's hypocritical and funny at the same time. And quite frankly, these are the same people who are now saying we should shut down the government that will essentially do everything opposite of what you just said in terms of working class Americans and taxpayers in this country. At the end of the day, Trump promised to give tax benefits to the wealthy, well off, and the well connected. We're seeing that play out with Elon Musk's thrust to power and his power grab exercise in terms of how they're finagling and moving throughout government. But the people of this country get what they voted for, no matter if it was just 245,000 votes across 7 states that gave Donald Trump the presidency, far from a mandate.
Well, it's really not that far from a mandate, Antoine. When you take a look at it from the Electoral College, when you take a look and you take massive areas of the country where you have a concentrated Democratic population, like you see in major cities across the state, major cities across the country, you take a look at the rest of the country, and those pockets, while very highly populated and very dense populations, you have a lot of the rest of the country, if you look at the whole map, that gets painted pretty red. And so there were a lot of places in key states, to your point, where it was a close race. But in other states across the country, it wasn't a close race. And so, is it a mandate? It doesn't matter really whether it's a mandate or not. To the point that we started off with, one of the biggest stories of 2024, Donald Trump's returning to the White House in 2025 and will be there for 4 years. Will the policies reflect what the voters wanted? And that is why you watch the show, folks at home. You want to know what's going on and how can you step into it and say something about it.
Well, Dave, to that point, Trump promised that he was going to force landlords to cut rent. He said he was going to lower gas prices to $2. He said he was going to bring down the cost of groceries. He said he was going to lower car insurance and all these other things. And you and I both know, because we're reasonable Americans, he can't do not one of those things as president of the United States. So this idea of overpromising and under-delivering is going to be the order of the day. And quite frankly, he's asking for a debt ceiling increase because the debt increased the most under his presidency. And now we're talking about increasing the debt to give tax credits or tax incentives to the wealthy, well-off, and well-connected.
I think it goes much farther beyond that. And I think we've barely got to start taking a look at what actually starts happening starting January 20th.
All right, Antoine, Dave, we're going to have to leave the conversation there. Guys, as always, thank you so very much. We're going to